So we have a mimer today from Shabbos Parshas Dvarim, Shabbos Chazon, Daled Menachem Av, the fourth day of Menachem Av of Tafshel Lametes 1979. So the Rebbe a lot of times on this Shabbos will say a mimer with the pasuk of the Haftorah that is always recited on Shabbos Chazon, Shabbos Parshas Dvarim. It's the last, it's concluding pasuk in the entire Haftorah. And begins with the word Tzim, bמשפט תפדה ושווה בצדקה, that ציון, which in the simple sense goes on Yerushalayim, Eretz Yisrael, the Beis HaMikdash, will be redeemed with Mishpat. Mishpat is often interpreted as Torah learning, Veshaveha, and either its returnees or captives, B'tzedakah, with tzedakah. And from here the Rebbe always derives the idea that especially during the 9 days, it's an auspicious and appropriate time to add in Torah learning, especially matters having to do with the Beis HaMikdash, as we know, and also to increase in tzedakah, because these are the two things that will redeem Yerushalayim, redeem the Beis HaMikdash. It's brought on this pasuk in the Mamorim that have the title of this pasuk, beginning with our Marim of the Alter Rebbe, the ones who took the Alter Rebbe's place. In other words, in the following Amarim or the following Rabbeim, they bring down a totally different topic. What we say in Krishma. In Krishma it says, "V'hayu advar ma'elet," shall be these matters, these things, asher anoichi mitzavcha hayoim, that I am commanding you today. So the Chazal have difficulty with the expression. Why does it say asher anoichi mitzavcha hayoim? I am commanding you today. Why did he call it today? Amr Chazal said, "B'chol yom yu b'nechki chadashim." Every day, the mitzvahs should be for you, the Torah mitzvahs should be for you as if they are new. So therefore, we can say that Hashem is commanding us today. So the Rabbeim ask on this, that's all fine and good for the Chazal to say such a thing, but how can we experience this? The Tzarech L'Hav, we need to understand, how is it possible to be so? The explanation behind it is, how is it possible for us to experience and feel as if we were commanded the mitzvah today? This pasuk, it will be today, these matters and the words will be upon you today. Comes in the continuation to what it says prior to this. Shema Yisrael Goymer v'haftas Hashem Elokecha Goymer, that since it's v'hoyad varim goes in connection with Shema and v'hafta, v'hainu shaydei hayizban Shema Yisrael Goymer, through thinking into the word Shema Yisrael, that we know that meditating on those words, shaydei zobal v'hafta Goymer, through that a person arrives at v'hafta, at loving Hashem Elokecha. That brings about that every day the mitzvahs are like new. There's also a Maimer Chazal, and there's actually a Rashi that doesn't say ki chadoshim, but it actually says chadoshim. So the Rebbe says that they will be actually new without the letter Chaf that tells you that it's only like new. It won't just be like new, it'll be actually new. How does that happen? That happens through Shema Yisrael. So in the meantime, he's going to be working his way, you'll see, through the first parsha of Krishma, through the meditation of Shema Yisrael. That brings a person to love Hashem. That results in that every day the mitzvahs are new. Now he's going to continue further in Kriyashma. In that first part, in continuation of this pasuk, it'll be these matters that I'm commanding you today. That it goes on and says, from that pasuk we derive that it should be in your eyes like new, Namar, afterwards it says, Vishinantam lovanecha v'dibartabam, you shall teach them to your children, and you shall speak in them, goimer, ukshartam, you shall bind them on your hands and on your head, uksavtam, and you shall write them on your doorposts. Shebegimel psukim elu, and these three psukim, Vishinantam, ukshartam, uksavtam, merumazim, gimel, and yonim, the limit HaTorah v'kiyam HaMitzvahs, we have Torah study, we have fulfillment of mitzvahs, and the avodah that in all your actions should be done for the sake of heaven, and all your ways you should know it. And the Rebbe is going to go on to explain how these three things are hinted in those three psukim. Vishinantam, going maybe the Bartabam, when it says you should teach them and you should speak in them, Koyal Eska Torah. It's referring to being involved in Torah study. Like the Chazal say that it's referring to the words of Torah. So that's clear. It's talking about the mitzvah of learning Torah. That's what it says, Vishinantam, etc. Ukshartam goimer, koyal kima mitzvahs. Then it says to bind the tefillin on your arm and on your head. It's referring to the fulfillment of mitzvahs. K'maimer, as Alt Chazal say, Hukshakal Torah Kula Tefillin, the entire Torah was likened to tefillin. What does it mean the entire Torah is likened to tefillin? Not Torah study, but rather Vakavana B'chol HaTorah Sham Ula Mitzvahs HaTorah. When it says that the entire Torah is likened and compared to tefillin, that means all the mitzvahs of Torah are compared to tefillin. So when it says in Kriyashma, the mitzvah of binding the tefillin on your arm and on your head, it's really, in a broad sense, including all the mitzvahs. So already we have Torah in Vishinantam and V'dibartabam, and in Ukshartam, which is talking about tefillin, which is likened to the entire mitzvahs of the Torah, you have already all the mitzvahs. Final thing, Uchsavtam Goimer, where it says you shall write them on your doorposts. Yeshloimar, we could say, Shebezem, Merumas, Gama, avoided the Bechol Masach Shem Shemaim, Bechol Derchecho De'eu. And this is hinted also the avoid, that all your actions should be for the sake of heaven, and in all your ways you shall know him. How is that hinted? Shegam al mezuzois beisecha uvisharecha. Even on the doorposts of your house and your gates, meaning things that are your own personal occupations and involvements and possessions, should be set over there and hang over there the parshas of Shema and Vahim Shemoya. And when a person hangs upon the doorpost and sets upon the doorpost the two parshas of Krishma, Shema and Vahim Shemoya, through that effect, that Hashem will guard your goings and comings from now until forever. Meaning that it's not just that Hashem protects the person in their home, and definitely it's not limited to when the person is doing permitted things, when the person is doing mitzvah things, but rather hamshachas hashmira da'avaya b'chol inyan reshus shaloi. We're drawing down the protection of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei Vavaya in all permitted manners of his. Seis chovayacha, your goings and your comings, meaning even outside the home, like the Rebbe often emphasizes, that the mezuzah doesn't just protect us while we're in the home, the mezuzah is also a protection for us even when we're outside the home. Which means, in other words, it's the idea of bringing holiness even in things that are masecha, your doings, your ways, you're still bringing holiness into it. So it's beyond the world of mitzvahs. So we have over here, in the three psukim of Vishinantam, Ukshartam, Unechsaftam, we have, like we said before, Torah, mitzvahs, and all your own permitted things. Now the Rebbe is going to connect it to what we said before, that it has to be like today, like new. 3 lines from the bottom, moving for this is understood. Also the idea that every day it should be for you like new, or it's actually new, that is derived from the earlier pasuk. Before it says Vishinantam, it says that these matters that I command you today, that tells you that it has to be as if it was given today. So, and in continuation to that, we speak about Torah and mitzvahs and all your actions. So therefore, so therefore the idea that it should be like new or actually new is referring to all the things that are in the continuation of Vayad Varim. Shekol, that all, next page, Inyanim Elu, all these matters. Limit at Torah v'kiyam mitzvahs, Torah study, fulfillment of mitzvahs, v'avodah b'chol masach chulu shem shemayim, v'chol terchecha de'eyu, the avodah of all your actions are for the sake of heaven, and all your ways you should know Him. Tzrichim liyas kichadoshim, all of these things have to be as if new. So he goes on now in the second paragraph. Hine mevur the Remaskal Tzim b'mishpat k'vek Admar Tzemach Tzedek. It's explained in the Maimer Tzim b'mishpat of the Tzemach Tzedek shekavonas hakosef. The intention, what is the pasuk referring to, that Sion will be redeemed with mishpat? Hiloi al ir Sion is not the city of Sion, which is another name for Yerushalayim. Ki im al Yisrael shnikraim Sion. Rather, it's referring to the Jewish people that are called Sion, as we will explain throughout the Maimer, the significance of Yidden being called Sion. And he brings a proof from a Yerushalmi. It says, I will place my word or my words in your mouth, and with the shadow of my hand I will cover you. Lintoya Shemayim v'lisei, to plant the heavens and to found the earth. V'leimer l'tzion, and to tell Tzion, Am mi'ata, you are my nation. What do we see from this? In this pasuk we find that my nation, in other words, the Jewish people, Yidden, are called Sion. Says the Yerushalmi an interesting thing. Chazarnu al kol mikra. We look through the entire Tanakh. V'loi matzanu shenikru Yisrael Sion elazeh. We only found, says the Yerushalmi, where Yidden are explicitly called Sion, only this pasuk where it says, Shenamar, like it says, V'leimer l'tzion am mi'ato, that you shall tell Tzion, or to say to Tzion, you are my nation. But the Tzemach Tzedek and the Rebbe now extrapolates from that, where it says explicitly, to our pasuk where it doesn't say it explicitly. That when it says Tzion b'mishpat tefda, it's referring not to Yerushalayim, but it's referring, or in addition to the simple meaning that's referring to Yerushalayim, it's also referring to the Yidden that are called Tziyah. The Tzemach Tzedek explains through the three matters that's in this pasuk, Lefi Pirush Yerushalmi Sham, according to the explanation of the Yerushalmi. So there are three aspects in that pasuk that the Yerushalmi brings. V'asim dvarei beficha, I will place my word in your mouth. Zu Torah. So we have the idea of Torah study. U'betzel yadi kisisicha zu gmils chasadim, and the shadow of my hand I will cover you. This is doing acts of kindness. Shehi klolos kol mitzvahs. Doing acts of kindness is the general idea of mitzvahs. So again, we have this thing. Just like in Krishma, we started off with Shinantam is Torah, Ukshartam, Tefillin is likened to all the mitzvahs of the Torah. The same thing here. It's going on doing acts of kindness, which all mitzvahs fall under the entire category of acts of kindness. What does it have to do with the shadow of my hand I've covered you? V'amitzvahs en bechinas levushim. We know, and Tanya brings down that the mitzvahs are levushim kisisicha, that I've covered you. Another word in Lashon Kodesh for a garment is ksus, a garment. So kisisicha means garments, makifim, because mitzvahs surround the person. Torah is like food that's internalized and taken in, just like food is digested in a person, so too Torah is digested within the person's mind. Mitzvahs, on the other hand, is performed outside the person. It's the garments of the person. So it says, "Betzel yadi kisisicha," it's referring to the garments, kisisicha, from the word kisus, a garment that covers and surrounds the person. According to what's also explained at the beginning of Tanya, when he goes into explaining how mitzvahs are garments of the soul and the Torah is the mazon of the food of the soul, it's also explained over there, also from the breath that's exhaled from the speech of Torah, when a person speaks the word of Torah, not just thinking, but he actually verbalizes it, that breath, that air that is exhaling when speaking, nasa bechinas oir makiv, that also has the advantage of being oir makiv. The Alter Rebbe says, it's not just that mitzvahs are garments and Torah is like food, but Torah really has both advantages. It's both food, and when a person actually speaks words of Torah, it also has the mile of a mitzvah being a makif, a transcendent, encompassing level. So gama dibur Torah nichol b'vatel yodek yisicha. So therefore, also the speech of Torah is included. That in the shadow of my hand, I have covered you like a garment covers the person. So again, we have over here in the meantime Torah and mitzvahs. What's the third thing? So in Krishma, the third thing was Chol Masechel Shem Shemayim Chol Torach Odeu. Here, the third thing is something else. Lintoya Shemayim V'lisei D'Aretz, to plant the heavens and to found the earth. Elu HaKarbonis, where it says at the conclusion of the pasuk, to plant the heavens and to found the earth. That is referring to Karbonis. What does it have to do, heavens and earth, with Karbonis? Because the Chazal say in a different place, Ka'idei hakarbonis miskaimim chukas shemayim v'oretz. The laws and rules of nature, the laws of heavens and earth, are only existing through the power of the karbonis. So what do we have in this pasuk? The asim dvarei beficha v'tzel yadik sichol l'ntoya shemayim v'lisoi d'oretz. That those are shehem gimel akavim shalem oilam ma'imid v'kayim. These are the three lines that upon them the world stands and exists, which is Torah and mitzvahs, Torah avoida, which is the avoida of karbonis, and the mitzvahs, which we said is gemilas chasad. So, but what's the conclusion of the pasuk? We call Yidden v'leimer l'tzion amiata. When Yidden fulfill these three things, they do the avodah of Torah, they do the avodah of mitzvahs, and they do the avodah of karbonos of avodah. So this ensures that they're the level of Tzion. Rebbe goes on to explain the idea of Tzion. What exactly is the connection and the idea of Yidden being called Tzion? Mevur bedrush manal, it's explained in the above mentioned Mamorim. Shehi bechinas pnimius halev. It's the inner part of the heart, the inner connection that a Yid has with Hashem. The external part of the heart is involved in externalities and worldly matters. The inner part of the heart is that aspect of the heart that's always connected to Hashem. V'ad shebechinas Tzion, to such a degree that Tzion he can moy shemuv Hashem mikisvei Arizal, like it's brought down over there in the Maimer of the Alter Rebbe from the writings of the Arizal. Bechinas memamakim kerosicha. It's the level that we say in Kapitel Kuf Lamed and Tillim. We'll say it during Aseres Meitzhuva. From the depths I have called out from you. That is the Tzion. The Tzion is the depths of the person. In Yimamakim, who the idea from the depths is bechinas nitzutz nivra, sheba melubesh bechinas nitzutz boire. There is at the very deep core of the neshama, there is a spark of the created being of the neshama, the core essential spark of the neshama. That in that core essential spark of the neshama, there is a spark of the Creator. Hainu, this means bechinas yechida shemekabelas bechinas yachid. It's the level of yechida, which is the feminine of the word yachid. Yachid means the only one that's going on Hashem Himself. So the Yechida, which is the feminine, that means that's the receiver, that's what takes in the level of Yachid. That is the Nitzutz Boida, the Nitzutz Nivra that receives the Nitzutz Boida, the spark of the created being that receives the spark of the Creator. This is why Yidden are called Tzion. Tzion means a sign, a mark. That's what a Tzion means, giving a mark. In Hebrew, when you wanted to say, what is his mark on a test? You say his mark is his Tzion. Tzion means making a mark, which is also a siman, a sign. And Rashbi said about himself, and we'll soon see how the Rebbe is going to extrapolate it, that it applies for every Yid. Ana simon ba'alma. I am only a sign for Hashem. I have no other entity except being a sign for Hashem. I'm totally bottled. Because from the perspective of the Yechida, Kol Mitziyusam, the entire existence and being of a Yid, is rak siman de inyanim shalamayla. Yid is only a sign, an indicator, a mark of matters above. He is nothing independent for himself. Along with the fact that the existence and the very being of the Yid is very powerful because they're connected to Hashem, and therefore they channel the power of Hashem. Their entire being is that they are a sign for the matters of above. Like, for example, it says, with this book of yours, meaning the Zohar and Kabbalah, Yidden will leave Golus through Pnimius HaTorah, Barachmi, in a merciful manner, not in a way of pain and suffering and difficulty. And Shakavana B'zehi, what does it mean? With your Sefer, it's through the spreading of the well springs of the inner part of the Torah, the way it was enclosed in the teaching of Chassidus Chabad, like the exact expression in the Sefer called Tikkun Zohar, that they will be sustained by your book. Sustenance is something that's internalized. Sustenance means food. Food is something that becomes part and parcel of the person. The same thing, Torah's Chassidus Chabad causes that the ideas of Pnimis HaTorah, which are transcendent and too high to incorporate and internalize, it makes it digestible. It makes it something that can be internalized like food, like Torah study is meant to be. So therefore, when do you really have the capability to go out of Golus through the study of Zohar and Kabbalah and Pnimis HaTorah? When it's translated and channeled through the teachings of Chassidus Chabad. Now, the Rashbi, third line from the top, Sha'amar, he said, Is Chad, there is one person that is considered B'nei Aliyah, V'anohu, and I am that one person, the Chsiv Tzaddik Yisoid Olam, the Tzaddik is the foundation of the world, and that's referring to himself, Hainu Shihi, Hu Haya Yisoid, the Klolos Kol Olamas. That the Rashbi said about himself that he was the foundation of all the worlds. It indicates the powerful existence of the Rashbi. Va'afal became, and still, even though he was such a powerful being, and Amar Anasimana Ba'almi said, I'm only a sign, indicating that he's nothing. So which is it? Is he powerful or is he nothing? So he's saying the power comes because he's nothing, because he's completely bottled to Hashem. Because his whole entire being is the existence of godliness. Like it says, that the Chachamim told or spoke about the Rashbi, and they said, Man pneya adam avayad Rashbi. Who is the face of the master? Hashem, Yudke Vavke, that's the Rashbi. Meaning, that Rashbi has no independent existence. He is entirely batal to Hashem. And that itself is the reason why he's so strong, because it's not his own ego and self that's the power, it's the power of Hashem that's over here. Now the Rebbe is going to take this, and he's saying that all Yidden are called ציון, we said. That Leimer L'Tzion Amiata, that means every Yid, because of the Yechida, has this idea of this complete bittul to Hashem. In a similar vein, this could be by every single Yid. Even someone that's only called by the name Yisrael like a nickname. It's not even what they truly identify it like. It's just something that someone calls him. How do you know that it applies to every Yid? Because of Leimer L'Tzion Amiata, just like the Pasuk says exactly. He says, to ציון, you are my nation. So he's going to explain the word Am indicates a very low level. The Gam Elu Shem Bechinas Ami, even those that's in a level of my nation, from the expression coals that are being extinguished, meaning it's very dark. That's what the level of Am is. Even those are a level of a dark coal that the godliness doesn't shine by them, and therefore they are called an Am only. They are also the level of ציון. They are also a level of a mark and a sign for Hashem. Now going back to the normal or ordinary pshat in this pasuk. The simple meaning of ציון with Mishpat you will redeem. Who should ציון koyal ir ציון. That ציon is going on the city of ציon, meaning Yerushalayim. V'gam pirush zeh yesh lakasher makosel l'ntoya shemayim v'lisei d'oretz v'leimer l'Tzion amiata. Also, this explanation we can connect with the pasuk to plant the heavens and to found the earth and to tell ציon, you are my nation. Ki avoidus hakarbonis, because the avoid of offering the sacrifices l'ntoya shemayim v'lisei d'oretz, to plant the heavens and to found the earth, tluya bebeis hamikdash dafki, is dependent specifically on the Beis Hamikdash. Shagam shatfilusim kineged hakarbonis efshalis b'chol mokim, though davening, which was established corresponding to the karbonis, and they can be everywhere else. The noise of lazeh. In addition to the fact that also in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, they were able to daven everywhere. They weren't limited where they could daven. Also the davening now that they're in the place of karbonis could be anywhere, even outside of Eretz Yisrael, even the most far-flung corner of the world, you could daven. So why are you telling me that the idea of avodas hakarbonis has to do with the Ir ציון, with the city of ציon, because it has to be in the Beis Hamikdash? Seemingly, what the karbonis that's being represented by davening could be all over. So he says there's a difference between karbonis and davening, even though davening was established in the place of karbonis, but it's not the same. So he says, the reason for this is why the davening can be all over, but karbonis can only be in the Beis Hamikdash. Because what we draw down through davening is not so much revealed. As opposed to karbonis, that what was drawn down from above was actually revealed. That fire came down from heaven upon Mizbeach. This also affected the eating of the kohanim and the eating of the ones who brought the karbonis, the owners of karbonis, that it wasn't just the part of the carbon that was consumed by fire had some great revelation. What about the pieces that wasn't consumed by heaven? What about the pieces that the kohanim ate? What about the pieces that the Yisrael that brought it ate? So the Rebbe said, the fire that came down from heaven also impacted theirs. So therefore, this type of revelation is dependent specifically on the Beis Hamikdash. Though there's an advantage in the avoid of the time of Gols, and specifically the avoid and the heels of Mashiach, So why do you make such a big deal about the Gilui that was in Beis Hamikdash? We know how great it is, the Avodah now at times, in the heels of Mashiach's times. And the Rebbe brings proofs for this. Like it's known what it says in the pasuk, that Moshe Rabbeinu, the man Moshe, was the most humble person from every person that's on the face of the earth. So the Chazal say that what does it mean he was humble? He was so humble. The humility of Moshe Rabbeinu was primarily from seeing ahead prophetically what would be the avodah of the Yidden in the generation of the heels of Mashiach. Since it says that Moshe Rabbeinu saw the Hashem's attribute of truth, so obviously what he saw was true. There's an advantage of the avodah of the generation of the heels of Mashiach right now over the avodah of Moshe Rabbeinu, and to such a degree till Moshe is even receiving from the generations of the heel of Mashiach. Like it says, Moshe Rabbeinu said, 600,000 foot soldiers of the people that I'm amongst them. Anoichi shemeir b'Moshe, Chassidus says, it says, Anoichi, the simple meaning of Anoichi is referring to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu saying, I am amongst him. And Bekirbai means amongst them, even though it says in the singular. Chassidus explains, Anoichi, I, Hashem, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha, Bekirbai is within Moshe, thanks to the thanks to the foot soldiers, even though Moshe Rabbeinu was the head, but it's only thanks and b'schus the foot soldiers that Anoichi of Hashem rests b'kirbai of Moshe. And this is true also for the generation of the heels of Mashiach, the Rebbe says, that Moshe Rabbeinu received the Anoichi because of his recognizing and his connection with even the generation of the heels of Mashiach. So why do we make such a big deal about the revelation in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, that it has to go on the avodas hakarbonis? Seemingly we have the avodah of Ikshus the Mashiach, which is so high. So the Rebbe says, Afal Pikein, still in all, Inyan Hagili b'poil mamish, the actual revelation, like we said before, the fire coming down from heaven, u'ba'avodas hakarbonis begashmis dafka, is when you have the physical avodah of karbonis, not just the spiritual avodah that's to be found in davening. And this revelation that took place by the avodas hakarbonis, totally the Beis Hamikdash is dependent on having the avodah of the karbonis in the Beis Hamikdash. Otherwise, we cannot have the karbonis begashmis. That's the connection between what it says to plant the heavens and to found the earth. These are going the karbonis, that through them the rules and laws of heavens and earth continue existing. The connection with ציון, which is going to Yerushalayim, ki Beis Hamikdash hu ba'is l'Hashem, mucham liyas mekirim b'karbonos Yerushalayim b'lvad, because the Beis Hamikdash, which is a home that's for Hashem, ready to be sacrificing and offering in it karbonos, is only in Yerushalayim. Despite all of that, the Rebbe goes on and says in the next paragraph, Alaf Shaf became still in all the Bertzoni is Baruch arose in his will, Sheyachrav Abayis v'Yisrael Yebagolos, that the Beis Hamikdash should be destroyed and Gidon should go into exile. Befrat Nix the Mashiach, especially in the heels of Mashiach. Because of the many tests and obstacles and things that stand in the way of doing Torah mitzvahs, the general avodah of the times of the heels of Mashiach, even the avodah of Torah mitzvahs is similar to the avodah of tshuva, that we know the avodah of tshuva elevates even the lowest sparks. The same thing, the avodah of Torah mitzvahs nowadays in the heels of Mashiach is shemvareres gaman itzoitzes shenaflu mata b'yoser. It refines even the sparks that fell the lowest place. V'chol ha'yirid Hashem tzorich aliyah, and all the descents that for the sake of elevation, hayu b'shvil avodah shebedaradik the Mashiach, it was for the sake of the service in the generation of the heels of Mashiach, shu ador da'achshav, it's our present generation. V'yakum edus b'yankim v'soida sam b'Yisrael man yedu dor achron. He established the testimony in Yankiv, and he placed Torah in the Yidden. Why? So that the final generation should know. In other words, our generation is called the final generation. This is the present generation. It's the final generation of exile, the first generation of the redemption. David soon Mamish will stand up a king from the house of David. He will build the base Mikdash in its place. He will gather the scattered Yidden. Even the sparks that fell are very low. Even those sparks that are far flung, will be refined and elevated. It will be the kingship for Hashem. The true and complete redemption through Mashiach. Bekarav mamish b'Gol Didan.